जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनातीरवनचारी यमुना
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
यमुनातीरवनचारी जय राधा माधव कुञ्ज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुञ्ज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनातीरवनचारी यमुनातीरवनचारी जय कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा जय निताय गौरंग जय निताय गौरंग निताय गौरंग जय निताय गौरंग जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय ओम विश्वपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शतश श्रीमद् डिवाइन ग्रेस श्री भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय ISKCON बिब्ली फाउंडाचार्य सेव द होल वर्ल्ड जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय श्रीमद्-भगवद-गीता की जय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Reading from Srimad-Bhagavad-Gita, chapter 6, titled Sankhya Yoga, text number 41. Prapya punya kritam lokan ushitva shashvati mata samaha suchinam shri matam gehe yoga brashto abhijayate श्री कृष्ण रुक्मिणी सत्यभामा की जय श्री सिद्धाय गुरुंग जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय प्राप्य पुण्य कृताम लोकान उषित्वा शाश्वती समाह Suchinam Srimatam Gehe Yoga Brashto Bijayate. Word for meaning, Prapya, after achieving. Punya Kritam, of those who perform pious activities. Lokan, planets. Ushitva, after dwelling. Shashvatihi, many. Samaha, years. Suchinam, of the pious. Shrimatam, of the prosperous. Gehe, in the house of. Yoga Brashtaha, one who has fallen from the path of self-realization. Abhijayate, takes his birth. Translation purport by Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. The unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. Purport. The unsuccessful yogis are divided into two classes. One is fallen after very little progress, and one is fallen after long practice of yoga. The yogi who falls after a short period of practice goes to the higher planets, where pious living entities are allowed to enter. After prolonged life there, he is sent back again to this planet to take birth in the family of a righteous Brahmana, Vaishnava, or of aristocratic merchants. The real purpose of yoga practice is to achieve the highest perfection of Krishna consciousness. But those who do not persevere to such an extent and fail due to material allurements are allowed by the grace of the Lord to make full utilization of their material propensities. And after that, they are given opportunities to live prosperous lives in righteous or aristocratic families. Those who are born in such families may take advantage of the facilities and try to elevate themselves to full Krishna consciousness. Please repeat the translation. The unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment on the planets of the pious living entities, is born into a family of righteous people or into a family of rich aristocracy. So this is the 6th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, titled Sankhya Yoga. So this chapter is describing, Krishna is describing about the Dhyana Yoga process. Also is called Ashtanga Yoga. So Krishna is describing this Sankhya Yoga process. So this process is a meditative process. By practicing this process, we can control our mind and senses and focus on the Paramatma, who is seated in everyone's heart, or the super soul, it's called. Paramatma is also Krishna, the plenary portion of Krishna, seated within everyone's heart, is called Paramatma. So after describing this meditative process, Krishna describes the elaborate process of this Ashtanga Yoga, eightfold yoga process. And after describing this process, Krishna describes about the what is the result of practicing this yoga process. So one who practices this process, he goes through the whole process. He ultimately is able to control his senses and mind and ultimately attain samadhi. Samadhi means when one's consciousness is fixed on the super soul, on the Paramatma. So he is called a Yoga Yukta, one who has attained perfection in yoga. So such a person, he is liberated, his mind is peaceful, his passions are quieted, and he experiences boundless transcendental happiness. and he is never shaken even in the midst of the greatest difficulties. Thus, he is freed from all miseries resulting from the soul's contact with the matter. So, after describing this Sankhya Yoga process, Arjuna says to Krishna that this process is very, very difficult to practice. So, Arjuna says that the mind is very, very restless and turbulent, obstinate. It is more difficult than controlling the wind. But Krishna says that, yes, no doubt it is difficult, but it can be achieved by practice, constant practice and detachment. Then Arjuna further inquires from Krishna. So he asks that what is the fate of the yogi who he may take to this yoga practice, he may take to this yoga process, and due to some reason, he deviates from the path. He is not able to achieve complete perfection in the yoga process. So what happens to such a person? What is the fate of such a person? That initially he took to this process of yoga, but somehow or the other, some reason he couldn't complete it and he deviated from the path. He fell down from the path. So what happens to such a person? So here Krishna is describing in this verse. So in the previous verse, Krishna describes that a person who engages in transcendental auspicious activities does not meet with destruction either in this world or in the spiritual world. So anyone who takes to the process of yoga, even though he doesn't achieve perfection, there is no loss. So even Narada Muni, he says, this is quoted in Bhagavatam. So Narada Muni says that Tyaktva sa dharmam charanam bhujam harer bhajan apakko tatpate tato yadi yatra kva va badram abud amushya kim ko vartha apto bhajatam swadharmataha. So Narada Muni says, if someone gives up all material prospects and takes complete shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no loss or degradation in any way. On the other hand, a non-devotee may fully engage in his occupational duties and yet not gain anything. So, spiritual activities, whatever we do, spiritual activities, there is no loss. Whatever we have done, it will remain forever. Unlike material achievements, we may achieve very great success materially. We may become a big billionaire. We may become very, very rich, handsome. We may become very famous. We can achieve so many degrees, material education, so many things we can achieve. But this will all end after death. So whatever we have achieved, whatever hard work we have put to achieve these things, this will not remain with us forever. Because one day we have to meet death. So after death, all these achievements will be will become zero. Next life, we have to start again from zero. So unlike spiritual achievements, whatever we achieve spiritually, whatever we do spiritual activities in this life, it will continue in our next life from where we have stopped. So in this life, suppose I have done 50% spiritual activities and somehow I couldn't complete, somehow I didn't achieve the perfection in this life. Now next life, I will continue from 51%. So that 50% what I did in this life will be my permanent asset. It will not be lost. So Krishna is saying in this verse that the unsuccessful yogi, so what happens to a person who doesn't achieve, who falls from the path? So what happens to such a person? So the unsuccessful yogi, Prabhupada describes in the purport that the unsuccessful yogis are divided into two classes. One is fallen from very little progress, and one is fallen after a long practice of yoga. So the yogi who falls after a short period of practice goes to the higher planets, where pious living entities are allowed to enter. And after prolonged life there, he is sent back again to this planet. So, even if you don't achieve spiritual perfection in this life, next life you get birth in the higher planets. And you can enjoy for a long period of time, long duration of life in the higher planets. You can enjoy sense gratification much more, in a much more greater degree than on this planet. And after you are given that opportunity to enjoy in the higher planets, then the unsuccessful yogi takes his birth again in this earth planet. And he gets birth either in a very pious family, like a Brahmana family or a Vaishnava family, or he gets birth in a very rich aristocratic family. So Krishna gives a person who has not completed the spiritual path, next life Krishna again gives up an opportunity to continue from where he stopped. So this facility is given either in a very Brahmana pious family or in a very rich family. So pious family means naturally the family is religious, they are inclined to spiritual activities. So the atmosphere is more conducive to practice the spiritual life. Or in a rich family where you don't have problem of earning your money. If you're born in a very rich family, you don't have to worry about your food problem. So you can continue your spiritual journey again from where you had stopped in the previous life to make this spiritual progress, and Krishna gives you that opportunity to again continue to achieve the perfection. So that's why this spiritual practice we should take up more seriously in this life. We should not neglect it. Because human birth is achieved it is a very rare birth. Getting a human form of life, we don't get it so easily. The soul transmigrates from many species of life. And after many millions of births, we get a birth in the human family, human life. So, human life, the main purpose of human life is to achieve self-realization. What is self-realization? Realizing what is our relationship with Krishna, with God, and becoming free from this repeated cycle of birth, old age, disease, and death. So if we don't practice the spiritual life in this life, next life we don't have guarantee what birth we will get. So even we may achieve material perfection in this life, great success in our material life, everything we achieve materially very prosperous. But if I have not done any spiritual activity, any practice of Krishna consciousness, next life there's no guarantee of taking a human birth. According to my karma, I can get a birth in any of the species of life. I can be born as a dog in the next life. I can be born as a elephant or an insect or a plant or a reptile. There's no guarantee. But Krishna is here assuring that whatever spiritual practice you do in this life, at least next life you get a human birth to continue from where you stopped. So that is the advantage of practicing Krishna consciousness in this life. And in this, especially in this age of Kali Yuga, it is made more easy. Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Simply by chanting this mantra every day, we can achieve full perfection, complete perfection. So this is the advantage in this age of Kali Yuga. Simply chant the Hare Krishna mantra and permanently terminate this cycle of birth and death and go back to Godhead, to live a life full of eternity, knowledge and bliss. So that is what the Krishna consciousness movement is teaching. Hare Krishna. Thank you. So stop here. Srimad-Bhagavad-Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. One announcement. Next Saturday, that is 22nd February, we will be celebrating the Shri Rukmini Dwarakadhish Rath Yatra.